They say my sisters are unintelligent. Man, you know what? That's something that you hear a lot of. You hear a lot of folks trying to say stuff about, oh, black women. They're not intelligent, right? Now, if you want to talk about IQ stuff, I mean, we got a lot of folks who have high IQs and high IQs. And if that's a basis of intellect, I guess you could say they're intellectual, but from a common sense standpoint, from a living life standpoint, they absolutely don't have the greatest common sense at all. So do you want the IQ, or do you want the ability to navigate through life? I want the ability to navigate through life. So whether you want to say that sisters may not have, and there's a ton of sisters, I really don't know where a lot of you folks may be coming up with about that sisters, even from an IQ standpoint. And there's a lot of sisters who are in school, a lot of sisters that go to colleges, a lot of sisters that are way above in their grades. So again, what we see is the promotion of when the media comes around, or anybody that shows something on some type of, project, some type of station, radio station, or media feed or whatever. The first thing that they're pulling to grab the folks that sound like they don't sound smart. And then all of a sudden there becomes that projection. All of a sudden it becomes that stereotype that groups all of them, puts them all in that same group that, hey, black sisters are unintelligent. Like I said, there's a lot of sisters who know how to navigate through life, to be able to figure out how to feed their family when times get rough and they don't have other people to bail them out. They don't have trust funds. They don't have networks. They don't have stipends. They don't have different other things that help prop them up, pull them up from their bootstraps type stuff. They don't have those things. So they've got to figure out, oh, you know what? I've got to work this to work that. I've got to work this job to do that. I got to do this to take care of my kid. That part, to me, is smart. Because you know what happens to the folks that are so privileged, that are so silver spoon fed, that are given everything? What you see is when that's taken away from them, and now they got to become regular, and now they got to come down to the quote unquote peasants or the poor folks, or they don't know how to live. They don't know how to live. They don't know how to survive. And then all of a sudden their whole world cracks. It completely cracks and falls apart. And then that's where you have some of these people who can't live here anymore. They don't want to be here anymore. And that, if you want to try to match and compare sisters to what you want to say as far as being unintelligent, maybe there's some sisters that are unintelligent. Like I say, as every culture has people that are unintelligent. But I tell you one thing that sisters have, they're very resilient. No matter how much you try to keep stepping on top of sisters, they are very resilient. They still make it through their life. Sisters are some of the, not even some of, they are like one of the most denigrated species on this earth. All cultures got stuff to say about sisters. But you know what? They still thrive. They still inspire. They still make moves. They still get out of their environments. They still do great things. There's plenty of sisters out here that don't get credit for a ton of inventions that they came out with. You know? So this whole thing about that my sisters aren't intelligent, you may have some that are out there. But again, if you want to talk about intelligence where maybe you're referring to IQ, IQ is not everything. Because you got some numbskulls out here who have high IQs and they don't know the first thing about humanity. They don't know the first thing about nurturing anybody. They don't know the first thing about survival. They don't know the first thing about being down in the dumps and pulling yourself out of the dumps and making something out of your life. They don't know anything about that. They don't know how to navigate and handle and walk through the traps and walk through all these different types of pitfalls that are all around that sisters have to go through. Sisters got to go through so many different pitfalls, so many different traps, so many closed doors. If you're talking about a species that's supposed to be the lowest of the low, now they got to go through their own. Then they got to go through their own men. Then they got to go through other culture women. Then they got to go through other cultures men. And when they get on top, they still get beat up with all kind of folks. All kind of folks want to sit up here and say that, hey, they don't deserve to be there. And they didn't do it with having a high IQ. They did it with just that spirit, that soul. There's a spirit and there's a soul. Back in the times during slavery, these folks who oppressed sisters, they wanted those same sisters to nourish and take care of their kids. But they're not intelligent. You wouldn't let just anybody take care of your kids. And even on top of that, those same oppressors, they were infatuated by our sisters. Kind of a little bit similar to what's going on in these days and times. Sisters are not all that intelligent, but you got other cultures who are infatuated. They may not want to say it, but they're infatuated. Or even if they're not necessarily infatuated with the sisters, they're infatuated with their features. They're infatuated with their attitudes. They're infatuated with their presence and their spirit, because they want their own women to be that same way. And when their own women act that way and present themselves that way, all of a sudden they think that that's original, but they don't know where that really came from anyway. Let me not get into all of this other stuff. Like I said, I don't want my sisters to ever believe, and I got this lighting. I don't want my sisters to ever believe. If I can get this lighting, I need this lighting back on my joint. It's getting dark out here. I don't want my sisters to ever take the description of being unintelligent. Because intelligence to me, I'm thinking maybe IQ. There's a lot more stuff with smarts and wisdom and knowledge. A lot more stuff that goes along with that. And you all have that. On that note, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace out.